Okay, so today we're going to be canning some tuna. Yesterday I canned about 84 jars or so. This is a 23-quart Presto Pressure Cooker. This is your bottom plate. Make sure we have that in there. Can't have those jars sitting on the bottom. Then what you're going to want to do is there's a little hash mark down here about 1.5 inches up. You want to make sure you get that full of water all the way up to the hash mark. Let's see if I got enough water here. Not enough water. Once you've got it full all the way to that hash mark with water, we're going to pour a little white vinegar in there. Helps keep everything clean. This is the original 15-pound weight that came with the 23-pound, 23-quart Presto Pressure Cooker. I will be doing mine at 12 pounds. It does have a gauge on the lid, as you can see, but so I don't have to babysit it quite as much adjusting that temperature. They also sell this, which is a 3-piece unit. Each one of these pieces here signifies 5 pounds. So if I took both of these off, this unit alone would be 5 pounds. With this it's 10. Put the third one on, we have 15. I needed a little more than 10 pounds. So what I did was I took the top off and I put a washer on there, and it wasn't quite enough. It got me to 11 pounds, but the screw wasn't long enough to allow me to put another washer on there. So looks a little bit weird, but I taped another washer to the top of that, and it sits right at 12 pounds. I am sure that this is not approved by Presto or any canning company, but it works. I'm going to go see, I measured the hole, it's about 3/4 of an inch, so I'm going to go see if I can find a 3/4 inch washer that'll actually slide over that, and test it later to see how many pounds I can get exactly, so I don't have to continue taping a washer to the top. But for now, it works perfect. So I've got a couple of tuna loins here that we're going to get ready to can. As you can see, there's some dark meat here. We're going to go ahead and cut that off. I'm sorry if the lighting's not right, but maybe that's a little better. We're going to cut that dark meat off there and get it cut up into small pieces to put into the jars. Okay, now we're just going to cut it up into pieces. We've got the blood off of it, the dark meat there. We're just going to cut that up into about 1 inch thick, 3/4 inch thick pieces. I might make some a little bit thinner. That way I'm not packing them in the jars. I've got different pieces to make sure we get about the right amount in there. So I've sterilized the jars. I left them in the dishwasher here with it closed. So I'm going to pull a few of them out so we can pack these jars with tuna and get the process going. Alright, so we got the jar. Put some tuna in there. Try to push it down there and get all the air out as much as you can. And just keep packing it in there. And you want to leave about 1 inch of space between the tuna and the top of the jar. That way it gives it so it doesn't basically boil over and explode on you here. So we'll put that over here. And you repeat until you've got all your jars packed. And trying to find that last piece that'll fit in there right. Don't be too much. There we go. Again, that's what that's going to look like. Okay, we've got pretty much almost all the tuna put into jars. I've got a few left to do. Now it's time to prep our lids. So what we're going to do here is we've got a pan with some water in it. We're going to bring it up to just below a low boil and put these lids in there. Slide them in there, kind of stagger them around so they're not all stuck together in there, and it'll get that seal nice and warm. So when it goes into the canner, hopefully it seals up better. So far we've had 2 that haven't sealed out of approximately 84 jars. So, alright, so we got the lids in the water. We got the water going. We're going to finish packing some jars here. We've got 6 more jars to pack, and then we are going to add a little bit of seasoning to it. And we will be ready to put them in the canner and fire it off. Okay, now it's time to season them up. We're just going to use a little bit of salt, canning salt, and some peppercorns in there. I don't do a lot. We're just going to put a little pinch of salt in each one. As we run down the line here. Then we've got some whole peppercorns. We're going to put a couple of those in each one. Okay, so we've got all the seasoning in down. Now we're going to take a little paper towel here. We're going to fold it up and get some hot water on it. Just a little bit. We just need it damp. Don't need it soaking wet. What we're going to do is we're going to wipe off the rims of these jars. The reason we're going to do that is to make sure we get a good seal so there's not any tuna or any juice left on there, so they'll seal up real well. You can maybe see there's a little piece of tuna right on the edge of that. We want to get that off there. Alright, this is the last jar to wipe down. Now we are going to prep it and put the lids on and get them in the canner. What we're going to do now here is grab a jar. We've got this fancy little tool here. Basically it's a lid pull lifter. It's got a little magnet on the end. That way you don't have to reach in the hot water with tongs or anything and damage that rubber seal that's on there. Get that. We set it right on the lid. We'll grab a ring. We put it on, and you can see it's only going on finger tight, barely at all. Just enough. As soon as you start to feel it snug down, at all, any type of pressure on there. That's about as tight as you need to get it. And you're going to place that right in there. At this point, I've already turned the heat on, so I've got this warm, but I'm going to turn it up to high now. Get that good and hot. That way, by the time I'm done putting all my jars in there, it'll be ready to put that lid on, and it won't take quite as long to get all the air out of the canner and start to get it up to pressure. Okay, so with this canner, I can get 12 standard half-pint jars in the bottom. Then we will put this in there. You can do it with, they say you can do it without it, but if you stagger them, I just feel a little safer with a little more stability with that in there. So we'll get that in there and we'll continue stacking jars. So on the top rack, I can comfortably fit 10 more in here. I can squeeze 23 in there, but it's pretty tight, so I usually just do 21 or 22. This is what it looks like when they're in the canner. So now what we do here is take our canner lid. You'll feel it sit right down on there. Twist it and lock it in place. Make sure we're centered over our burner here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to wait until this is shooting a nice steady stream, no puffs, nice steady stream of steam, and then we will put our modified jiggler on there and bring it up to temperature. We'll be back with that. Okay, as you can see, hopefully there's a pretty steady stream of steam coming out of there. So we're going to take our modified wobbler here, jiggler, stick it on there. We're going to bring it up to temp. You might have saw there's a little button here, and you might be able to see some little bit of splashes coming out of that. When it starts to build pressure inside, that's going to pop up and let me know that it's going to start building pressure. There's also a safety right here on the front. The jiggler again will allow that to go to 12 pounds, and it'll start jiggling and let off any excess steam to keep the pressure right at 12 pounds, so I don't have to babysit it as much. Babysit the temperature on the stove here. What I do is I leave it on high until we get to about 10 pounds. Then with my stove, I turn it down to about halfway medium on the stove, and that will generate enough heat and keep the pressure at 12 pounds with that jiggling very consistently. So, see there, it's letting off some steam now, it's starting to rattle around. Another minute or so, it should pop and completely seal this thing up and start building pressure. Normally I would have the overhead fan here on, but it does make quite a bit of noise, so we'll turn that on after that gets locked and up to pressure here, so you guys don't have to hear that. And there she goes. She just popped up. She's going to start building pressure here now inside. And once she hits the 10 pounds, so we'll turn that stove down. She'll creep right on up to 12. We're going to cook this for about 100 minutes at 12 pounds. So you do not want to start timing your timer until you hit the 12 pound mark. And at that point, and then you can start your 100-minute countdown. If at any point it drops below 11 pounds, 11 and a half pounds, you need to restart your time. It has to stay above 11 and a half pounds. To be safe, I run mine at 12. Okay, as you can see here, we're almost at 10 pounds. We're actually right there at 10 pounds now. The jiggler here in about another pound is going to start to slightly wiggle at about 11 pounds. And she'll jiggle pretty consistently when she hits 12 pounds. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn down the heat. There. As you can see here, we just hit 11 pounds. And the jiggler is just starting to rock right now. And there she goes, just above 11 pounds. And we're about just under 12 right now. We're going to hit 12 here in just a couple of seconds. And there we are. We're right at 12 pounds. It might go up just a tad more, but it's going to hover right there, right at 12 pounds now. So we're good. Now we can go ahead and start our timer for 100 minutes. I'm going to stop the video here and we'll restart once the 100 minutes is up. Okay, so the timer just went off. You can see here we're still at 12 pounds. Rocker's still rocking. What we're going to do now is we're going to turn it off. Turn the stove off. We're going to let the pressure come down. That takes about 30 to 45 minutes. It just depends. We want to make sure that pressure gauge is all the way back to zero. And the pressure valve here is dropped back down into the down position. Then we know it'll be safe. Unlock the pressure cooker, remove the lid, and get our cans out. We'll be back in about 35 minutes, 40 minutes. Alright, so as you can see, sometimes that sticks and doesn't fall down on its own, but I make sure to give it enough time that when I push it down you don't have any steam releasing. So let's go ahead and see if I can open this with the camera there. We'll rotate it until it unlocks. Always tip it away from you because there still will be steam in there. And I don't know if you heard that, but you can hear the lids already popping. So, good sign that they're sealing. I don't see any tuna in the bottom, so that's good. That's what it looks like inside with it done. Again, you just heard another top pop. Okay, always use one of these to remove your jars. Not use tongs or anything like that. This is a jar grabber designed for canning. It'll make your life much easier. Reach in there. A little difficult to get it in there at first with it full. Grab your jar, lift her out, then go place her. I've got a towel on the table on a giant cutting board.